Hello, I'm back. Need a little bit of room here. And that's back in the shop after being gone for about 5 days to attend the Great Basin Blacksmithing Guild's annual conference in Murray, Utah, which is just outside of Salt Lake City. You've probably seen a couple little short videos I did on the drive up there and a little bit around the shop once I got there. Unfortunately, that was all the time I really had to do videos while I was there. It was so busy, had so much else I needed to do, that even though I took all the cameras and all the tripods and all the lights, they didn't come out very much. In fact, most of it never came out at all. It just sat in the corner of the shop, so it waited for me to unload it, bring it back here so I can put it away here. So of course, that will be the big job for this morning, is putting away the tools and the supplies that I took with me so that I could do my demonstration, getting the shop put back to order here. So that means a good part of my morning is just going to be spent unpacking and putting things away. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to get on to something else. As part of this video, I've got a little mail call. Some of you folks have sent me some stuff, and I'll share that this morning. And I'll take a minute to show you some of the tools that we made there. These are tools that were sold at the fundraising auction at the end of the conference, and they belong to somebody else, but I promised I would finish the tools, so they need to be cleaned up, polished, sharpened, and made ready for use. So that's something I need to get done. Then I'll show you some of the neat stuff that I managed to acquire at the conference. Some of it's really just scrap, but it's better scrap than I have here. Well, that didn't take too long. I got everything put away, and the shop is ready to go back to work just as soon as I'm ready to go back to work. A 5-day journey to another conference with a road trip and hot weather and hot wind. And for those of you who saw the very end of the What It Means to Be a Master Craftsman video, that was forest fire smoke from, I think it was the Pole Creek fire, which was south of Salt Lake City and blowing across the highway, and the mornings in Salt Lake were smoky and hazy, and it was just kind of hot and miserable because of the eeriness of the fire. So that's what you saw there. Hopefully the property damage is being limited, and hopefully that's all in unpopulated areas, but I really don't know the area well enough to be sure. So anyways, I've got some stuff here that I brought back from the conference. Some of it's the tools I need to work on, and some of it was some things I just managed to acquire. These are the tools that we made there. We did a chisel. Actually, we ended up doing 3 chisels because I was having trouble making the forge weld stick. But anyways, we made some chisels. We made a draw knife. And we made a froe because we actually had some extra time the day I was doing all the forging. There wasn't really the equipment to grind and finish. Paul's shop is more of an ornamental iron shop and isn't really a tool making shop. So his grinders really aren't suited for this kind of work. They're suited for doing much bigger, more aggressive work. So I'm going to do all the grinding and finishing here. This has been hardened and tempered. This will get ground, hardened and tempered, and then the final grind on it. So these are the things we made there. I mentioned I brought back some scrap. Paul's scrap is pretty impressive stuff. In fact, some of you guys would be quite disappointed to see what he hauls to the scrap yard. But these big triangles are 1/2-inch plate. That's 9 inches by about 12 inches. And I'll be able to cut this into some square plates to use for bases for fly press tooling and that kind of stuff. So this is a real find for me as far as I'm concerned, but it was headed for the scrap trailer at Paul's shop. And this thing is cut from a piece of 1.5 by 12-inch flat bar. I've never worked with 1.5 by 12-inch flat bar. And this is something they had made a staircase stringer out of and had some extra. So he cut me a piece of it that's 4 inches wide, and this will be enough to make some simple power hammer dies. It's mild steel, but for occasional use dies, that will be fine for power hammer dies, perhaps fly press tooling, perhaps bottom tooling at the anvil, because it's not going to get used that often. As with many blacksmithing events, they had an auction, which I did not participate in because they were auctioning off the items that I had made as part of my demonstration, and that didn't really seem appropriate for me to buy my own stuff back. They also had an iron in the hat drawing, or raffle of sorts, where they had all sorts of stuff. People had brought leaf springs, people had brought Tong blanks, people had brought electric motors, motor controllers. There was all sorts of really high quality stuff in their Iron in the Hat. So I did buy a few Iron in the Hat tickets, and I won one of the Iron in the Hat drawings. And that was for this pair of Tong blanks that somebody plasma cut from 1/4-inch plate. And this is for a pair of V-bit tongs. I'll need to do a little work on the reins. We're going to need to curve this, put a V-cut in there. But this will be a nice project for us to do here on the channel. It's a little bit of cleaning up from the slag from the cutting, but otherwise it's a very nice pair of Tong blanks. And I think they're going to make a nice pair of light-duty V-bit tongs. Somebody else gave me this Llama cutout. And this is actually two pieces. There's a front and a back. And I need to go through and weld all the way around this, and then try to clean up and grind the weld. And we will explore then inflated work in the forge. And this is something, there's not much blacksmithing involved in it, but you leave a port and weld a little tube into that. And when this is at red heat, you can apply air and you can inflate it, and it becomes a three-dimensional llama. So it's going to be kind of an interesting thing. I've heard about it for years, but I've never actually tried it. So this will be my first test at making an inflated llama. That pretty much wraps up my trip to the Salt Lake City area, specifically Murray, Utah, and the home of Lightning Forge, who was a wonderful host. Paul was great, put me up for 3 nights, fed me, got me back and forth to the shop so I didn't have to try and figure out how to go from his house back to the shop through Salt Lake City traffic. Wonderful time, great group of people over there, great hosts, really a nice small conference, smaller than the Rocky Mountain Smiths conference that I usually go to, but it's just a weekend event. So it's Saturday, half a day Sunday, and people don't have to take off big chunks of time from work that way, and it's easier for people to attend. So really a good idea, nice little conference. If you're in that area, I encourage you to check out the Great Basin Blacksmithing Guild. But now that I'm back in the shop, I had a little bit of mail while I was gone, and I thought I would share with you some of the things that people sent me. Sam sent me this very interesting lag bolt or spike. It's hard to say which. It's twisted. I think it's a 4-lead twist. So that's 4 corners of a square bar. And this is something that has come up in making hardware, is can you make a bolt simply by twisting square bar? So at some point, somebody made this. I suspect this is commercially made. You can see a little seam on the side that looks like it may have been in some sort of a forming die. It's hard to say, though. It could be blacksmith made. The top of the spike and the nut are clearly 2 different pieces. This is a big flange nut, not the head of a bolt. And this has been peened over into it, perhaps forge welded into it. It's hard to say for sure. And I don't know if this was spiked in and just less likely to come out because of the spirals, or if this was actually screwed in use. So I think this is a great conversation piece and something for me to look into. I'll try to make something. I'm not going to abuse this by putting it in and out of wood to try and test different theories. We'll make something fresh, and maybe we'll explore that as part of a video in the near future. And a couple of folks sent handles that are for the tool chest that I've been showing you through, or have finished showing you through in the Tool of the Day videos. There was some discussion on why no forged handles, so people are starting to send forged handles out, and I appreciate that. That's a great gesture. This will be a great bunch of samples. We'll try to take a look at all the handles people send. Hopefully there won't be 1,000 of them. I don't know what I would do with them, but if there's 10 of them, I'll have enough to do the chest. So John, thank you for this handle. And I think it says Artie. I can't quite read the name perfectly, which I apologize for. It was probably printed more clearly on the outside of the box, which I may have to go hunt for. But the folks that sent me these handles, thank you very much. They're much appreciated. So as we wind the video up today, I thought I would let you know what I'm going to be up to in the shop the next few days. I shouldn't say the next few days because unfortunately tomorrow it's back to the dentist to get my permanent bridge put in so I can quit worrying about damaging the temporary bridge. So that'll be a good thing. But the biggest order I have right now, and it has come to the top of the list, are some hinges and handles and door latches. And these are all for a kitchen. And luckily, this is the second half of this order. The first half was several years ago. They remodeled the kitchen, and they are now remodeling the other half of the kitchen, and they want matching hardware. I was smart enough or lucky enough or something to have made extras when I did the first batch. So while I don't have anywhere near enough to fill the current order, I have a sample of almost every piece that they need. So I have the little pivoting latch so I can see how I made that. I even have some of the pieces in process for the latch so I can see the process that I used to get to this point. I have the little drawer pulls that I made for them. I have samples of the hinges, but I have lots of little pieces in this box that I have been saving for years because they said they were going to order more, and they really did. So sometimes when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I'll get back to you," it really happens. As always, I have axes and adzes to work on. I've still got about 20 orders for axes or adzes that need to be made, and I'm going to try and get a few of these done this week that are almost finished. They just need final grinding, shaping, hardening, tempering, but the major forge work, the forge welding, the eye, all of that is done. So hopefully I can get these done Thursday or Friday. Then I have a little hanging rod to make for a tapestry weaver who ordered a rod to hang one of her tapestries from. And I have a variation of the braided rod twist. This one won't actually be a twist, it's more actual braiding, although not exactly. And we will show you how that's done when I work on that project. This afternoon, I think I'll start on the hanging rod for the tapestry and start doing a video on that. I'll try to do a tool of the day video. So hopefully tomorrow we will have some actual forging videos and we'll be back to doing that. Well, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can find time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, but do stay safe, do wear your safety glasses, and we will see you for the next one.